Hi everyone, welcome back to Reading Corner. I'm so happy you could join me today because I've got some more really fun books to share with you. Do you remember a little while ago, my friends Audrey and Caleb went to their bookshelf and picked out some books for me to borrow and for me to share with you on Reading Corner? Well, I've got another one of those books today and it's called The Bees Sneeze. And it's about what happens when Buzzy McBee smells the bloom of the Tootletuff flower and all the sneezes that come from that one little flower. Then we have a story called The Tale of Johnny Townmouse. And this is from the Beatrix Potter collection. So you may have read it if you have those books at home. But it's the story of a little country mouse called Timmy Willie who accidentally finds himself meeting Johnny Townmouse in town and the adventures that the two of them have together. And then finally, I have a book called The Gobbledegook is Eating a Book. And it's about a little monster called a gobbledegook and how he has to learn not to eat books, but to read them. So let's start with The Bees Sneeze. On Tootletuff Hill, fig-deliciously big, grew fruitful groves of the Tootletuff fig. One day, a lorikeet swooped for a feed, flew far away and pooped out a seed. The seed hit the ground in Willowwamp Wood near Crocodile Swamp, where the soil was good. Soon from the seed grew the teensiest plume of a shoot, then a plant, then a Tootletuff Bloom. Buzzy McBee was busy on high, the lovely new flower attracted her eye. My, said Buzz with a loop-de-loo flip, I'll zip right down for a nectary nip. Buzzy McBee sipped from the bloom, but soon the Tootletuff's sweet perfume puffled and prickled a teasy sneeze. Uh-oh, cried Buzzy McBee. I smell a whiff, a ticklish sniff. I'll squeeze the sneeze inside. So Buzzy McBee wobbled her knees, but still that teasy sneeze came breezing, jiggling and joggling like kids at the zoo. It grew till it blew with a loud achoo. Rumbly-tumbly, head over end, Buzzy McBee bumped into a friend. Bless you, said Monkey Minx. Thank you, said Buzzy, but help me, please, to shift this flower that's making me sneeze. Sure, said Monkey, and dug out the bloom. But soon the Tootletuff's sweet perfume swirled and curled a teasy sneeze. Uh-oh, cried Monkey Minx. I smell a whiff, a ticklish sniff. I'll squeeze the sneeze inside. Monkey Minx winked and blinked. Buzzy McBee wobbled her knees, but still that teasy sneeze came breezing. Bubbling and boiling like Bushman's brew, it grew till it blew with a loud achoo. Bumbling backwards, Monkey and Buzz landed kerspluff on a friend full of fuzz. Bless you, said Barefoot Bear. Thank you, said Monkey, but help us please to carry this flower that's making us sneeze. Sure, said Barefoot, toting the bloom, but soon the Tootletuff's sweet perfume wafted and whirled a teasy sneeze. Uh-oh, cried Barefoot Bear. I smell a whiff, a ticklish sniff. I'll squeeze the sneeze inside. Barefoot Bear pulled on his hair. Monkey Minx winked and blinked. Buzzy McBee wobbled her knees, but still that teasy sneeze came breezing. Like ants in the pants of a kangaroo, it grew till it blew with a loud achoo. Jumbled about in a roly-pole romp, the friends went tumbling down to the swamp. Bless you, said greedy Crocodile. Crocodile, thank you, but help us, please, to ferry this flower that's making us sneeze. Sure, said Crocodile, hop on my back. I'll have you across the swamp, quick quack. But Lizzie Malou was curled on a rock. She stirred when she heard the words of the croc. "Stop!" cried Lizzie. "Watch out! Have fear! He'll gobble you all. But here's an idea. Let's make a chain and swing in a line over the swamp like riding a vine." So, linking with Lizzie, they swung with the bloom, but soon the Tootletuff's sweet perfume wheezed and tweezed a teasy sneeze. "Uh-oh!" cried Lizzie Malou. "Now I smell a whiff, a ticklish sniff. I'll squeeze the sneeze inside." Lizzie Malou turned herself blue. Barefoot Bear pulled on his hair. Monkey Minx winked and blinked. Buzzy McBee wobbled her knees, but still that teasy sneeze came breezing. Crocodile grinned. "There's naught you can do. That sneeze will explode. Just wait." Achoo! Hungrily watching them fall and flap, Crocodile opened his mouth and snap! Buzzy McBee, Monkey Minx, Barefoot Bear, and Lizzie Malou were swallowed up whole in one gulp too. "Yum-hum!" Crocodile smiled, but soon from deep inside that Tootletuff Bloom prickled and tickled a teasy sneeze like a fearsome volcano that fizzled and grew until it exploded and blew. Achoo! Out came the friends and the Tootletuff too. Buzzy, Lizzie, Monkey, and Bear were mightily glad to be out in fresh air. They romped from the swamp with a zip, zip, and a stomp, while Crocodile gave them a glowering glare. And what of the bloom that was thrown to the sky? 'Twas caught by a lorikeet flying by. It slipped from her clutch over Tootletuff Hill, landing roots down. It is growing there still. The end. That was fun. Have you ever had a big sneeze and you feel your nose tickling and you want to hold it in, but then it just comes out in a big achoo? Yes, that happens to all of us. Oh, now we've got another fun story. It's called The Tale of Johnny Townmouse. Johnny Townmouse was born in a cupboard. Timmy Willie was born in a garden. Timmy Willie was a little country mouse who went to town by mistake in a hamper. The gardener sent vegetables to town once a week by carrier. He packed them up in a big hamper. The gardener left the hamper by the garden gate so that the carrier could pick it up when he passed. Timmy Willie crept in through a hole in the wickerwork, and after eating some peas, Timmy Willie fell fast asleep. He awoke in a fright while the hamper was being lifted into the carrier's cart. Then there was a jolting and a clattering of horses' feet. Other packages were thrown in. For miles and miles, jolt, 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 and Timmy Willie trembled amongst the jumbled up vegetables. At last, the cart stopped at a house where the hamper was taken out, carried in, and set down. The cook gave the carrier sixpence, the back door banged, and the cart rumbled away, but there was no quiet. There seemed to be hundreds of carts passing. Dogs barked, boys whistled in the street, the cook laughed, the parlour maid ran up and down stairs, and a canary sang like a steam engine. Timmy Willie, who had lived all his life in a garden, was almost frightened to death. Presently, the cook opened the hamper and began to unpack the vegetables. Out sprang the terrified Timmy Willie. Up jumped the cook on a chair, exclaiming, "Our mouse, call the cat. Fetch me the poker, Sarah." Timmy Willie did not wait for Sarah with the poker. He rushed along the skirting board till he came to a little hole, and in he popped. He dropped half a foot and crashed into the middle of a mouse dinner party, breaking 3 glasses. "Who in the world is this?" inquired Johnny Townmouse. But after the first exclamation of surprise, he instantly recovered his manners. With the utmost politeness, he introduced Timmy Willie to 9 other mice, all with long tails and white neckties. Timmy Willie's own tail was insignificant. Johnny Town Mouse and his friends noticed it, but they were too well bred to make personal remarks. Only one of them asked Timmy Willie if he had ever been in a trap. The dinner was of 8 courses, not much of anything, but truly elegant. All the dishes were unknown to Timmy Willie, who would have been a little afraid of tasting them, only he was very hungry and very anxious to behave with company manners. The continual noise upstairs made him so nervous he nearly dropped a plate. "Never mind, they don't belong to us," said Johnny. "Why don't those youngsters come back with the dessert?" It should be explained that 2 young mice who were waiting on the others went skirmishing upstairs to the kitchen between courses. Several times they had come tumbling in, squeaking and laughing. Timmy Willie learned with horror that they were being chased by the cat. His appetite failed and he felt faint. "Try some jelly," said Johnny Town Mouse. "No, would you rather go to bed? I will show you a most comfortable sofa pillow." The sofa pillow had a hole in it. Johnny Town Mouse quite honestly recommended it as the best bed, kept exclusively for visitors, but the sofa smelt of cat. Timmy Willie preferred to spend a miserable night under the fender. It was just the same the next day. An excellent breakfast was provided for mice accustomed to eat bacon, but Timmy Willie had been reared on roots and salad. Johnny Town Mouse and his friends racketed about under the floors and came boldly out all over the house in the evening. One particularly loud crash had been caused by Sarah tumbling downstairs with the tea tray. There were crumbs and sugar and smears of jam to be collected, in spite of the cat. Timmy Willie longed to be at home in his peaceful nest in a sunny bank. The food disagreed with him, the noise prevented him from sleeping. In a few days, he grew so thin that Johnny Town Mouse noticed it and questioned him. He listened to Timmy Willie's story and inquired about the garden. "It sounds a rather dull place. What do you do when it rains?" "When it rains, I sit in my little sandy burrow and shell corn and seeds from my autumn store. I peek out at the throstles and blackbirds on the lawn and my friend Cock Robin. And when the sun comes out again, you should see my garden and the flowers. Roses and pinks and pansies, no noise except the birds and bees and the lambs in the meadows." "There goes that cat again," exclaimed Johnny Town Mouse. When they had taken refuge in the coal cellar, he resumed the conversation. "I confess I am a little disappointed. We have endeavoured to entertain you, Timothy William." "Oh, yes, yes, you have been most kind, but I do feel so ill," said Timmy Willie. "It may be that your teeth and digestion are unaccustomed to our food. Perhaps it might be wiser for you to return in the hamper." Oh, cried Timmy Willie. "Why, of course, for the matter of that, I could have sent you back last week," said Johnny, rather huffily. "Did you not know that the hamper goes back empty on Saturdays?" So Timmy Willie said goodbye to his new friends and hid in the hamper with a crumb of cake and a withered cabbage leaf, and after much jolting, he was set down safely in his own garden. Sometimes on Saturdays, he went to look at the hamper lying by the gate, but he knew better than to get in again, and nobody got out, though Johnny Town Mouse had half promised to visit. The winter passed, the sun came out again. Timmy Willie sat by his burrow, warming his little fur coat and sniffing the smell of violets and spring. He had nearly forgotten his visit to town, when up the sandy path, all spick and span with a brown leather bag, came Johnny Town Mouse. Timmy Willie received him with open arms. "You have come at the best of all the year. We will have herb pudding and sit in the sun." "It is a little damp," said Johnny Town Mouse, who was carrying his tail under his arm out of the mud. "What is that fearful noise?" he started violently. "That," said Timmy Willie, "that's only a cow. I will beg a little milk. They are quite harmless unless they happen to lie down upon you. How are all our friends? Johnny's account was rather middling. He explained why he was paying his visit so early in the season. The family had gone to the seaside for Easter. The cook was doing spring cleaning on board wages with particular instructions to clear out the mice. There were 4 kittens, and the cat had killed the canary. They said we did it, but I know better, said Johnny Town Mouse. Whatever is that fearful racket? That is only the lawnmower. I will fetch some of the grass clippings presently to make up your bed. I am sure you had better settle in the country, Johnny. We shall see by Tuesday week. The hamper is stocked while they are at the seaside. I am sure you will never want to live in town again, said Timmy Willie. But he did. He went back in the very next hamper of vegetables. He said it was too quiet. One place suits one person, another place suits another person. For my part, I prefer to live in the country like Timmy Willie. The end. I don't know. I think I prefer to live in town where there's a bit of bustle and noise and people about. But you might like to live in the country where it's nice and quiet and the only sounds are the birds and the bees and the animals on the farm. As Beatrix Potter says, different people like to live in different places. Now we're going to read about a little monster called the Gobbledegook. Something is coming. Can you see? It snuffles and shuffles. What can it be? Look, it's a gobbledegook. It's ripping up pages, eating a book. Now it's coughing up clouds of words, the silliest words you've ever heard. Yow, blur. Stop. You don't eat a book, you slibbery, slobbery gobbledygook. Reading a book is what we do. The monster says, eh? Then it says, ooh. Look, gobbledygook. Let's explore this space travel book. We'll jump on a rocket headed for Mars and float and fly to the faraway stars. Whoa. Now feast your eyes on this recipe book with lots of yummy food we can cook. Banana and custard with chocolate cake, salads and bagels and vegetable bake. Here's a big book about dinosaurs with scaly skin and toothy jaws. Hear them roaring all day long. Let's join the dinosaur roar-a-thon. Roar. This is a book about being a clown with big shoes, a red nose, and pants that fall down. We frolic and laugh, have some somersault fun, and the gobbledygook is the funniest one. Ta-da! In this penguin book, we shiver and freeze. The gobbledygook gets wobbledy knees. We swish, we swash, we slip, we slide. We hop on a walrus, we go for a ride. Whee! Now, let's take a peek. Let's take a look. Find a monster in this monstery book. Here's someone who looks just like you. The monster says, eh? Then it says, boo. All right, a very, very last look in a drifty, dreamy fairy tale book with princesses and ponies, wizards and queens, fairies and giants and beanstalky beans. So the gobbledygook reads every line from the end to the once upon a time. And now we're all tucked up in our beds. Let's close our eyes and snore out some Zeds. And we know that's true, don't we? That you can have all sorts of adventures when we read books, and the adventure that you have in your imagination is sometimes the very best kind of adventure. I hope that after reading today's books and even the other books we've read at Reading Corner, you have lots of adventures in your imaginations as well. So that's all I have for you today, but I'm looking forward to seeing you again next time at Reading Corner. But until then, you take care. Bye for now.